Hello, podcast world. Look, this is what happens when Dina lets me have a go at the introduction. So, welcome to Balanced Life Mastery, where as we've said before, we're talking everything about business, burnout, barbells, not always in that order. So, and this was a really important podcast that we wanted to get out nice and early. If you listen to the previous podcast, you'll know what it is. So, don't write in. It's not a competition. We are talking about values, and it's such an important topic, and we realized we did have to do it right at the start, because there's no point going through this journey of understanding how you can live this high performing and balanced life, or how to avoid burnout, how to lift a barbell heavier maybe, without understanding what your values are, what it is that you uniquely care about, because in this day and age it's so bloody hard to know what they are. And so we thought this would be a nice fun one. I will give you a warning. You are going to need a pen, paper, like notes app or something on your phone towards the end, because we have a little bit of homework, because we don't want you to get away scot-free. So Dina, how are you doing today?
I am good. This is one of my favorite topics, because the topic of values, every time I was asked, anytime we had some sort of corporate HR training, I was like, yes, honesty, integrity, loyalty, all of those wonderful things. And the one time I was asked by my coach what my values were, I drew a blank. I had no idea what to ask. And I listed all of these 4 or 5 values out, and he paused and he was like, Dina, what are your true values? What are your core values that drive everything that you do in life? And I had no cooking clue how to even answer that. So it is, but when I found them out, when I dug deep and I did that introspection, it was life-changing. So I encourage everyone to go through a similar sort of exercise. So definitely a topic that's a hot one for me.
I have no idea what phrase you just said. Like that's
cooking clue. I was about to say something else, so I caught myself.
So similar to me. You're trying to keep this the PG rated podcasting. I shouldn't say so many P's, because it'll probably like blow up my mic at some stage. But and it is really interesting, because when we talk about goals, everyone says, "Oh, I've got goals," and you say, "What are your goals?" And then they ream off their corporate goals, and that's all right. Corporate roles, and in work, you do need goals, and I think having company goals and values are really important to set that direction of what people want to do, to make them feel comfortable with this is the expectation. Whether the value is on making an impact in the world, or maybe it's customer service, or maybe it's investing in people. It's a really powerful way to sort of show the world what you stand for, to help people have that single direction. But much like personal goals, much like personal values, it's incredibly quick to see when someone's not living by their values. So if you work for an organization that says that we value people, and then you feel like there's a burnout culture, it's very quick for you to feel uncomfortable that I joined for these values and I don't feel these values align to what they've said. So values are incredibly important, but you have to live by them. And it's also why you personally will start to feel very uncomfortable if you move away from your values. So if you do things that make you feel uncomfortable over a consistent long period of time, it will run you down. It will make you feel negative. I mean, if you had a value around family or community, and you suddenly had to start traveling a lot for work, and you didn't see these people, like that would really grind you down. But if your value was meeting new people, new experiences and stuff like that, travel is amazing. And you'll soon find it. It's this weird thing. You don't know you've got them, but they're impacting your life more than you realize. So a super cool topic. And also, just to be clear, your values will change over time. So this isn't like a one and done. Yeah, whether that's progression, as you progress in your life with like family, and everyone knows your values change and your requirements change. But yeah, I've rambled enough. So Dina, what have you seen from sort of values wise? Have you seen many people living away from those values and what it's done?
So I think a big thing, like I see values as kind of the measuring sticks that kind of we're able to align to see whether we're living a life that's true to us, right? Being fulfilled, feeling successful, feeling achievement, all of these things. Values are the measuring tool that help us feel all of these things. And one of the things I think, like a statement like, for example, I want to be good, right? Or I want to be great, or I want to impact. All of these things are defined very differently by different people based on our personal values, right? So good for me might be completely different to what good is for you and what revolves around that. The problem is today, and to be honest, I mean, it's been around for years, we are impacted by societal norms and our peers' expectations that dictate our values, or we try to decide that a certain value is cool just because it's on trend with a peer group, right? So again, being CrossFitters, right? Some people, the majority of CrossFitters, fitness is super high on their values, right? Health and fitness and that kind of drive. And so, but there might be people that join CrossFit gyms that don't have that ambition in fitness, but they try to kind of mold themselves into that just because they think that that's the done thing. Or for example, getting to the top of a career ladder, getting to that kind of VP exec, whatever it is, right? So if you're not aligned with that, but it's kind of the pressure around you that's forcing you to do that, that is one big highway to hitting a wall and being very, very unhappy. And that is what I see the most. It is very much led by society, unfortunately. And I don't think people live with integrity to what they value the most and are actually okay with it. I think we get scared of really kind of showing our true desires and our wants, and we might be ashamed to kind of share certain things. So that's been definitely my what I've noticed.
Did you ever have like an epiphany about one of your values, like you didn't even know it kind of existed, and then, or it wasn't as important to you, and then it just sort of like poof?
What a good question. I think for me, it was, it's impact. It's something that I've never, being able to help, being able to not just help, but change, like transform, being able to, like, that was always an underlying factor for me, but it never was at the top of my head, like, this is truly what I want to do. And when I linked it, for me, for example, I want to earn money in order to be able to help people more, right? That is like, it's like you said, either this discussion or the last one, a job is a means to life, to living a life that you want at the end of the day. So for me, the more stability, financial stability that I have, the more I'm able to give back and to impact and create this impact and legacy that I truly wish to. And I don't think I ever knew that until very recently. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of those weird ones, because you kind of feel like you need to focus on you, especially as you kind of start your career, and then you kind of go through it, and it's like I once started a blog called the Lucky IT Engineer, I think it was, and there was like all these things that happened to me that I thought were just like luck, but actually it was like hard work, dedication, and bits. But I suddenly realized that was me telling people my story and telling the stuff I'd learned and where I'd screwed up. And the day that I pulled the the disk out of the server and wiped out an email system over a weekend. Like, it's not, no one writes that unless you want to help people. And yeah, it's really like that, giving value back to the world and making that impact is really powerful, but it sounds egotistical till you actually meet it at the right point in your life. So no, I completely understand why it's sort of, you don't realize it till you get to a certain point. But
yeah, how about you? What's been your value?
So security's always been like really important to me, and I never really knew it, right? So and it's only when I did an exercise like we're going to take you through that it really made me realize, because you kind of have to step back and look at your past and look at the values leave breadcrumbs. And for me, my kids live my kids work my kids go to school, there we go, they don't work yet, and it's about 1 kilometer from our house to the school, right? And I would always take my wallet with me and my phone, and it's like, and I had no plan to go to the shop, but I always wanted money just in case, and I always used to kind of always have money in my pocket, and it kind of made me feel safe, secure. Like, and then all through my career, I was always really good at saving. So I always had money going into a savings account. I did nothing with it. I wasn't clever enough to like invest it, like look at compound interest, which is a true wonder of the universe. But I always had this habit of making sure the money went out at the start of the month, and I had this like big, relatively, cash buffer. I then looked further back, and my parents ran a business, which was one of the reasons why I didn't want to start my own business for a very long time. And it was always sort of boom and bust. And there was, they did incredibly well, and then money would get scarce, and you'd sort of see like the pressures come in, and whether it was like suddenly the cars weren't as nice, or the sort of switch on holidays. And as a kid, you don't really notice, but you kind of do notice. And I always used to worry that the house was, I had this vivid memory of walking up, thinking I would walk up the road and see a for sale sign outside the house. So I always had in my head that I was worried that at some stage money would become scarce and we wouldn't be able to continue living like we were. And suddenly I realized security was so important to me. And when I it took me like 2 years of like trying to come up with this business idea at the same time as balancing work, because I was too scared to make the jump. But because I had that value of security, so then I worked out, well, how do I give myself security? So that's like, making sure you've got the right insurance. So you've got let's go morbid, like death insurance, like critical illness cover, stuff like that, like income protection. It's having a cash buffer so you can live for, I don't know, people say 6 months, but I've got 18 months where in theory you don't need to earn any money, we don't need to change any of our lifestyle. And I think I was fairly good at my job before, so I could go get a job at the end of it if this doesn't work. So click and subscribe. But that was so important to me, that I knew I had this deep yearning, like you were saying, about making this impact, helping people, like get rid of the stigma of burnout, help people with that life balance. But I couldn't do it until I had my value sorted. So it's like security. Like as soon as I went through questions and I was like, oh my God, like it was like one of the first questions here, and you'll be like, I answered wallet as one of them. And as soon as I wrote it down, it's like, that's a really weird thing to like have as number one. But again, it liberated me, because I could plan around it and I could make sure that I fulfill it. And then
100%. And you know what? Like that brings a super, super important point, in that the way we behave is what reflects what our values are, right? So you picking up your wallet, having your wallet on you every single time, that is something that is aligned to values, right? And following from what I was saying in terms of people not acting or behaving in a way that is aligned to values is that we think and we say that we value certain things, but our actions never really back them up. And I think a huge kind of reflection there is all of these movements, without getting super political, all of these movements out there that are supporting causes and stuff that they have to support, right? Where it may not be aligned with a value, be it something like as climate change or dangers of social media or whatever else. There is something there that it is okay not to be aligned with these things. It is completely fine. But as long as your actions align with your values, that is where you operate from in the flow. You operate with integrity and it just flows. So on that note, shall we get to the questions to get everyone to kind of have this introspection time and exploration time?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure they've all just like skipped forward to this bit anyway. So welcome to the podcast.
Alrighty. So just in terms of this, please take these questions seriously. Give yourself the opportunity to really reflect on your inner self, on the things that make you you. So allow yourself to really explore, and please take this seriously because it can be life-changing if you allow it to. So first of all, I think for each of these questions, think of the top 3 to 5 things, 3 if easier, 5 if you want to list more, and just kind of jot them down, write the question down as we ask it, note the answers down, and then you'll get some time to kind of reflect at the end. But the very first question is, what do you have most in your space? What occupies your space? What is around you? Is it your phone, a wallet, books, tech of some sort, right? Because what you surround yourself with are probably the materials that you value the most, right? They're things that you like to have around you. Secondly, how do you spend your time? What are the 3 areas where you spend the most of your time? So be it with your friends, parties, barbecues, at the gym, with your family, right? When something is important to us, we make time for it. So have a little think about what the 3 things are that you spend most of your time doing. The next question is, following on from that, is what do you spend your money on? Because if you have no idea, there are tons of apps out there where you can track your monthly spend and look at what sort of items, what categories you spend your money on. What do you think about the most? What occupies your mind the most? What do you wake up thinking about? What do you think about when you're walking the dog, just like Jeremy, or when you're in the shower? Maybe we don't want to know that one, but whatever it is that you think about, what is it that you think about the most? And the next question is, what do you visualize and dream about the most? When you think about your goals, your ambitions, your aspirations, what do you dream of achieving, right? When you think about achieving a goal, what is that goal? What does your life look like when you achieve that goal in the future? So give yourself a second to really visualize and let those images come to mind. And the next question, what do you tell yourself the most? What are the conversations that you have with yourself? Do you constantly question your abilities, or do you tell yourself that you're strong and you're capable at something? And what topics do you chat about? When you're out with a group of friends, think about the topics that you love to get involved in, that you start, the conversations and the topics that you start, what you like talking about the most. And then think about what are the topics that you start zoning out from, completely daydream mode. What are those topics that completely drain your energy that you want no part in? And then the final question, and a lot of people with some sort of pessimistic mindset always say, Dina, this is super morbid. It actually isn't, all right? But the next question is, if the world were to end next week, what 3 things would you want to accomplish? All right. The only reason we ask this is because it forces the key things that are important to you up your priority list, and you're able to address them. Okay. And you're able to really identify what those top 3 to 5 things are. Okay. So once you've answered all of those questions, reflect on them. They will fall into areas of your life. They will identify certain categories or topics, and look at those as your values. And ask yourself, are you living a life that is aligned to your values? Where are you feeling the biggest resistance, or the inner conflict, or the frustration, or unfulfillment? And what needs to change, and what do you need more of? All of these questions help us align and create goals for ourselves that are true to us, okay? And we might later on in another episode talk about what if someone wanted to create new values, right? What if someone was like, I really want to value this. What do we do? So I think that might be a topic for another episode. But yeah, what do you think of those? Yeah.
Awesome. I think they are truly a transformational list if you go through it. It's like Dina said, you need to spend the time, you need to really think about it, but also don't overthink it. The risk of overthinking is you then start thinking about what should I have as my values, because a lot of people say I should value family because I've got a family, and it sounds brutal. Some people don't, and that's all right. It doesn't mean you're not going to look after them. It just means that a lot of people have this value around having some private time and bits like that, and so don't feel guilty about what comes out of it. And just where Dina had the bits at the end about reflections, it's really easy to do the stops. So if there's something that you know is sabotaging one of your values, it's quite often going to be something that's dragging you down. And habits are hard to change, and we will talk about habits, but if you can stop doing one of those things, you'll see such a positive impact. So you're not having to go out and do this big thing to suddenly, like mine was security. You don't have to suddenly go out and save lots of money. It's the stop eating a takeaway every week. Like have one once a month or something, because then then put that money in a savings account, and then you'll suddenly realize that it's building a habit, and it's making you feel emotionally happier because it is aligned to those values. So you don't need to make a big rash life-changing move once you've done this, but it helps to guide you on that path of where you want to get to.
100%. We often leave ourselves to a point where it's very black or white. It's all or nothing. It's like, I want to quit the job. I want to do this. But actually, it might be a smaller solution that works. And most of the time, it actually is. So, yeah. So we hope you found these questions useful. Let us know. Leave us comments. Let us know your thoughts. Write to us. Get in touch with us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. And if you found this useful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and we can't wait to share more tips with you. Anything else to close on?
No, I think that's awesome for this week. So powerful week. So look forward to talking to everyone on a future episode.
Take care, guys.